In this episode of Arts and Offers, we're going to be talking about why you need to start turning whatever it is that is your passion into your livelihood. By not following your passion, you're not only cheating yourself out of your passion, you're cheating other people out of things that would have pushed their own lives forward.
Heck yeah.
That is, of course, not to say that this journey is going to be without challenges.
I think a lot of people aren't used to even the thought that like this is not how being a poet has to be. Like
it's the challenge of finding coaches. So we do have a few schools on the wait list, and then also being able to fund that as well.
But this is also going to teach you valuable lessons, including you control your own success.
I just started. I've been recording this whole time.
Is this a podcast? Are we?
Is this recorded live or do you edit it? Okay. Yes.
Why should you start a business around something that you're passionate about? Well, today we're going to be talking with 3 people, myself included, who have made that leap, and maybe it's time to do it yourself. Welcome to Arts and Offers. This is the video podcast all about the intersection between business and poetry and art. My name is Jeff.
I'm Matthias.
And we have a special guest today.
Yeah, hi. My name is Kathy.
Yeah, this is where we would push the button for a clap. We don't.
It's
gone.
It's
gone.
We have to use different microphones.
Clap yourselves.
And I'm 3,
clap
so we have to use our friend here to get everyone's audio.
We'll edit that in.
We can edit clapping in. I just choose not to. But yeah, so all of us have respective businesses about things we're passionate about. I think maybe it would be helpful to kind of start off by just saying what those are to give a model. So I have Diverses, which is all about trying to develop poets, get them thinking about handling their work in a professional way. In addition to that, my main business at the moment is teaching communication, at times through the use of poetry as a device, to people who are interested in communication, especially ESL learners.
Cool. So I am the executive director and co-founder of Columbus Chess Academy. And for the last, I'd say, 15 years, chess has become a really big part of my life. I was a teacher, and I had chess clubs throughout, my time teaching, and then I started to learn how to do more tournaments, and then we launched our nonprofit, which really aims to make chess accessible to all students, regardless of cost and income. So this past year, I decided to make the leap instead of doing teaching and the nonprofit full-time to go into Columbus Chess Academy full-time, and to be able to expand our program that way.
Perfect. And I think one difference between, for instance, my businesses and yours is Columbus Chess Academy is nonprofit. Mm-hmm. I am for-profit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That does change. That may get into some of the topics we talk about today in terms of funding sources and things like that. Matthias.
And I do a couple different things, but I think primarily I do filmmaking. March of last year, I became a full-time filmmaker when we were just working on some one documentary and 3 poetry docu-poetics, that is, films. And now I think probably the biggest film that I have on the roster to date is the project that we worked on with the Smithsonian. And then I also have like a couple documentaries around like hip hop culture, and one documentary on, I can talk about it. There's a documentary on the history of rollerblading in Columbus. Oh. That's
cool.
I could. Who are you gonna tell?
I didn't know rollerblading had a history in Columbus. That's great.
Apparently it's it's a lot deep. I didn't know a lot about it until I started working on the project, and when they reached out, it was it gets deep.
It's like an underground circuit.
There's I don't know how much I could say. There is a place in Westerville that is a really big rollerblading kind of
It's almost Fight Club-esque.
It's almost it actually not Fight Club, but it's really close to you only really know about it if like somebody like tells you, and like it's a cool community. But
it's like the rollerblade, the poetry scene is very similar. The chess scene is very like if you're not in it, you don't know. And then you find it, and there's a huge thing.
I mean, it's a really cool cult. Like it's like a lot of it comes from like some people that were like they were like in California, and they're like sort of transplants here, and then they just kind of grew it really a similar way that they did back in California. That, and also like Detroit, which I think everybody is like, okay, if you're talking about rollerblading, at the very least, a part of that culture is an import from Detroit. So,
how did you get hooked into the documentary? Are you a rollerblader yourself?
I am. So one of the people that is really big in that scene, I actually met through a poet who, like, because the person he's a barber as well as like a rollerblader. So like he's a barber for a couple poets that I know, and he was just he just saw me like at shows and stuff like that. And one time I was at a show, and one of the people that I was in production with at the time on one of their music videos was on the mic and was like, "Oh, I got a music video coming up. Shot Maddie with the cam right over there. He's the one who like did the music video." And he was like, "Oh, what other stuff did you do?" Then we had a meeting. That's and then cool. Then I take a blood oath, and then he said, "Let me show you this roller rink."
Tell no one about it.
Unfortunately, that was yesterday. I could not keep that secret for long.
When I was at Cave, one of the people there was actually top rated. I forget, like number 5 or number 10 world for like roller derby and stuff like that.
For roller derby?
And she was trying to keep it secret. As soon as I found out, I was telling everybody.
I would tell everybody if I'm top 5 rated in anything.
You know. And Matthias, in terms of your business model, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like it's kind of almost interwoven for-profit, nonprofit, like grants and things like that occasionally coming through, but then also individual clients.
Yeah, so for the most of my clients are going through grant. Actually, I take that back. A lot of my clients do go through grant. So I'm getting paid. I am for profit, but they have like a grant base. So like I do a lot of stuff with UAS. So that's like the Mellon Foundation
through OSU.
And then there's just like the project that I am almost completely done with. I'm completely done with the production side of it. That was through GCAC, or that's like the people that hired me went through GCAC for their funding. And so there's a lot of people, and like, I mean, even some of the stuff that that I do with like Ajane and stuff like that, like it's in connection to like other grants that like are funding like those projects. Right. So like, so for like, I'm a kind of a hired gun on a lot of these projects, except for ones I'm like the creative space behind it. Like those are the ones I'm like, I'm stepping in. But outside of that, okay.
So to kind of give a format for our talk, I think something that would be helpful, since all of us kind of have our own businesses, if each of us could maybe highlight one challenge we've encountered, and then after that we'll talk about one advantage as well. Okay. So to start, I'll go for like an example of a challenge that I think Diverses has, is that the approach I'm proposing for people to not necessarily attempt for themselves to the same degree that I'm attempting it is so radically different from how most people approach it. So there's the poetry system that we've talked a lot about. You know, it's traditional route, publications, credential building, whether that's through degrees or publications or both. There's a specific route you go with, grant funding or nonprofit organization funding. The idea of using poetry to create a business around, you know, solving pain points, going out there, finding people to help individually on my own basis without, you know, turning to larger organizations is a very new concept for poets. And getting people comfortable with that deviation is a challenge, because anytime you are proposing something that's not even necessarily like overthrowing the system, but like it's adjacent with it enough that it's going to take time for people to get comfortable with it.
Yeah, well, because people are already comfortable now, so they're like, man, would you want me to transition over to this thing? Yeah,
they're comfortable now, even though like you look at what they're doing and it's like you're comfortable with crumbs. Like you're
well, that's it. Like you can be comfortable in being like a really bad situation, but it's just like I am used to it though. So like I think a lot of people aren't used to even the thought that like this is not how being a poet has to be. Like this is not how I don't have to be, subject to whoever is on the reviewing committee for my work.
Like the idea of a poet having a poetry space for poetry. What? Well, you're getting grant funding, right? What? You're not? What? Yeah. Like it's just using your own money. Like you're learning about how like businesses work. You're learning about like tax stuff. Like what?
Yeah. And also, I think it forces people to really think about poetry as like less as a leisure and more of like an actual fixture in their life in some way. You know what I mean? Like if somebody told you like I have an art space that's just for painting and we're only doing painting here, I'm like, yeah, but it's because if I walk into a bank tomorrow, there's a painting on the wall. You know what I mean? If I walk into McDonald's, they probably have some art or something like that. So it's like I think a lot of people, it's just harder for them to like really see the fixture that poetry has in their life to a degree that like now they're like, I don't see the reason for like permanence like in a space like this.
But that's a challenge. I think if you're creating a creative business is especially in an area like poetry where not many poets are doing that. When you do something that's new enough, people get nervous.
Thanks. Yeah.
Anything for chess business stuff?
I think so. And this is we've had coaches in schools for maybe this is our fifth, fifth year, and we've grown every year since we started, almost like doubled. And so at this point, we do have more schools who want coaches, but because most of the clubs meet around lunchtime, it's the challenge of finding coaches. So we do have a few schools on the wait list. And so coming probably this winter, I'm going to start to do more recruiting. And so figuring out, how to put job applications out and screen people and interviews in order to meet the need.
Screening people is huge because you're working with kids in school.
Oh yeah, we have our background check system, and then also being able to fund that as well, because most of our what we get from tournaments will go towards our programming, and that the more schools we have, the more it'll cost to run the programs. And so another challenge is to, I think, grow big enough that people will have heard of us and be willing to invest, because we did write some grants, especially in the past, but this year, I don't know if it's because of the economy or whatnot, but we haven't gotten nearly as many as we have in the past.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so that's why looking for sponsors is a new thing I'm doing this year too.
Are you comfortable talking numbers at all?
If
you know
yeah, like give me some questions.
Like can you compare grants from previous years versus this year?
Yeah. Well, so last year we got a $7,000 grant for our women and girls programming, but there were a lot more grant applicants this year, and because we got a pretty big one this year, we didn't get anything for that, But we're able to use a lot of that money for things for our girls and women's, which were, I wouldn't say necessary for just a meetup. So our costs this year are a lot less, because we're still gonna do the programming, but it's gonna be a lot less than before. Yeah.
So the big things I'm hearing staff and also funding.
Yeah.
Which I think are typical nonprofits.
Yeah, right.
Common. Yeah. Matthias?
Oh, it's my turn. So I think on the challenge, on challenge basis, I think one of the biggest things is that a lot of the projects that I do are creative endeavors and not functionary principled shoots. And the biggest difference that means is that, it's really about how familiar other people are with how to shoot a film or how to shoot their idea. Because if somebody I had a recent experience where we initially sat down and we were discussing a 15-minute short film. And I'm like, okay, like as soon as you tell me a 15-minute short film, I know like 10 other questions to ask. You know what I mean? And then in a later meeting, we're actually in a like separate meeting, and they're like, yeah, and I was thinking the film could be like 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm like, that's not a 15-minute short film. Like these are completely different things. And mind you, we were talking about the same script. So I'm like, this script cannot both be 15 minutes and 30 minutes. And it certainly can't be both 15 minutes and 45 minutes. And so I think a lot of times we are like, there's like some education that I have to have with like the client. And then it's also, you know, we're also dealing with artists. And I'm not saying like artists are always like, you know, disheveled and like late and stuff like that. But it's also like a lot of artists have just never taken what they're doing so seriously that like like if somebody told you, okay, you have to be at your job at Chipotle at 8:30, like they would be there at 8:30. But because it's like their project, they're like, people are like, oh yeah, I kind of show up when I can and when I want. So it's like you're dealing with that a lot, because I'm like, if this was if you just hired me for the day, that's a different price. But then it's like, then I don't, you know, maybe my entire day is this, so I don't care when you come in. Like, it's up to you. But if you're like, we're only here for 3 to 4 hours, then I'm like, oh, I very much care, because I'm like, I have to lock this in. So there's that. Like, again, it's just really people, like kind of dealing with people and dealing with like creative processes, because a lot of, and you're also like really attached to a creative endeavors in a way that it's like, if I shot like a documentary like style shoot at Urban Art Space, like literally like last week. And that was just, and I'm actually not doing any editing, so I'm just setting the camera up and I'm getting like light positions and stuff like that. And I set up like mics, but then people were just flowing in, doing interviews and leaving. Like, that takes some creativeness, like around like light, but like ultimately it's just like, I'm just putting that out there. Whereas with somebody, and then this is somebody else's film, so it's like, this is something that presumably they saw in their head first, and so like, I really have to try to extrapolate whatever their vision is. And so there's like that part on like kind of the challenge part. The good thing is that I'm in full control of the projects that I onboard. Like, I know like there's a couple other filmmakers that are in the city that are contracted out through production companies. And so essentially they have like, they'll have like a 6-month contract where they have to work on projects from that company. And I'm not saying that's like altogether a bad deal. Like, that's not altogether a bad deal. But
it takes energy though.
It takes energy, and then it's also, it's like you're consistently working on things that maybe you're not passionate about, and it could ultimately feel like a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Because it's like, even if I'm doing the function of the thing that I really enjoy doing, I'm not doing it for the reasons I got into it. So I think fortunately I'm in a position where like I'm doing some of the projects, even the projects where I'm like, this is not my passion, I don't want to do it. It's like, I still chose to do it because like it can get me from A to B. So
I was listening to a podcast, the 505 podcast, and one of the hosts of that used to be a videographer for the Lakers. You know, which, you know, sounds like a dream job for a lot of videographers. Like, I'm doing like, especially like sports, like videography. One, gets paid, and two, is like super complicated, and you know, there's pressure, but there's a lot of opportunities, things like that. And like, I think one of the things he was talking about was that, you know, a lot of times we're going through these moments of kind of reaching the peak and enjoying it and doing the thing that we envision. But what we often find is that's a temporary state. And one of the things he found that, you know, like year 2 loves it. Year 4, it's like, man, I gotta get out of it.
Now you're the Lakers.
Yeah, exactly. You're not your own stuff. It's you're beholden to them, and it's a cool opportunity. And obviously, many other people would want what you have, but
I think you're working to get to a place where like you dreamed about initially, like you know, you might have been like, I really want this camera, but now that you have this camera, it's like, okay, like what do you do with this equipment, and like how can you really make this equipment worth it? And now that you've done that, how do I like upgrade? So like every step that you're kind of moving forward, you're kind of dealing with kind of like the caviar problems that you use, that you like how you used to like do caviar problems, but like now they're just like next level. I don't know if caviar problems is actually a phrase. I think I heard it in a movie.
Make it. I want to make the shirt.
This new podcast, me, Jeff, and Kathy, caviar problems.
Caviar problems. I think it also because people change too, so you're not the same person you were 5 years ago, and so you have different goals, different perspectives, and just so.
Which is actually, I mean, what's really cool about I think that like your journey with chess, because I think about. I don't know what I expected when I walked in. I remember because I've been to like a couple chess events here in Columbus, and it was always good, beautiful energy. But I feel like when I walked in to is that Crown Plaza?
Yeah.
Like when I walked in there, it was like I had been like I used to work at the Hyatt, and they would have these like OhioCon and MitsuriCon, like these like anime like and manga like conferences and stuff like that. And it was like. Just people just passionately like really like that really love what they do. They love what they're like they watch and they read and stuff like that. And you see all the costumes, like it was like that, but like with chess. It's like these kids running around just talking about like maneuvers that they're like thinking about. And like there was a kid that had like a trophy, and he was just like it was I think I have it on camera at some point.
Yeah.
But it was like this kid was like walking, and he has this trophy. It almost felt like a Hallmark commercial. Like he has this trophy, and then his friend comes over, and then his friend comes over and he sees the trophy, and then the kid gives him the trophy, and he puts his hand around. It's in the background. Like I'm not even interacting with these people. He puts his hand on his shoulder, and then they're just walking into the distance. I'm like, did you guys?
Setting.
Right. One snowflake came to the ground, and then they grew up before our eyes. But it was just like I think it was wholesome, but it's like some of these kids weren't 15 years old, so it's like the work, something that started with you is like something that preceded those exact kids were not 15 years old, so like the work that you were like doing, like how chess affected your life has been so like impactful that like there's like generations of kids like after like you right now that are like existing in the world, making friends and learning chess that like are benefiting from like just like the work that you were like consistent with. So like it's just really cool to see like not like because I feel like a passion can change even in its growth. So like whatever your passion is, like today it's like okay, but like the way that it changes, it's almost like from like Charmander to Charizard. It's like you evolved.
I think that I'm gonna take what you said and just push it to the extreme. By
The next Pokemon.
By not following your passion, you're not only cheating yourself out of your passion, you're cheating other people out of things that would have pushed their own lives forward.
Heck yeah.
So stop being selfish.
Yeah.
How dare you?
The example I give a lot, like, look, if I'm a doc, like, if I know my poetry, like, I write a poem, and I know that this poem could move someone in a way that helps them. If I'm a doctor and I have the medicine for what ails someone, and I intentionally don't let them get it, I'm not a good doctor.
Yeah.
Take my license. Like that's not good. But that's what we're doing with our art, and I think that's to kind of shift us over to the advantages. Like, I don't know if this was intentionally your advantage or not. So if you have another one, feel free to let me know. But it's one of the words you mentioned was control, and one of the things that when you create a business, a source of livelihood around the thing that you're interested or passionate about, you're putting that interest or passion at the forefront of your life. Versus if I'm doing something and then relegating my art to like my 5 to 9, after the 9 to 5, it's getting the worst of me. I've already given my best energy to someone else to build their dream. And so, not say that there's anything wrong with that. Like have a hobby, have the thing that you're pushing to the side, but also understand that you're giving one plant like all the water, all the fertilizer, all the sun, and you're giving one plant a couple drops you know, and enough to live on, but it's not enough to thrive and have the full growth on.
Yeah. And like to your like doctor analogy, because I also think about like a lot of it is about people that like, I just have like a dream or an aspiration to be a doctor, and I'm not doing that, or I'm not like following through on that because of, you know, 10 other things that I'm like prioritizing that might not be my dream or aspiration, or really anybody else's dream or aspiration for me in my life. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm doing these things because, you know, you just kind of get caught up in the day to day, and then eventually you just realize like, oh, like not necessarily out of time, but you wasted a lot of time. And so a lot of times like you're not even making that leap into the field that you are actually passionate about. And the thing is that like everything that we're doing at this table actually does require somebody being passionate about it to make it through the times that are like not like the best times. So like there's plenty of, and I'm sure this goes for y'all too, but like there's plenty of like production days where I'm like, if I wasn't passionate about filmmaking, then this day would suck more. You know what I mean? But there are times where I'm like, yeah, like because of the fact that I'm passionate and I'm really dead set on the next level of the enterprise that I'm in right now, then I'm like, I can make it through it because I am passionate about it.
Which I think it speaks to why, I remember listening to Christo kind of speak to this a bit, why they say like, you know, some people are like, you know, don't just make a job about something you're passionate about, which I understand the logic behind it. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that if you do a job that you're not passionate about, there are other people who are passionate about it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily just about yourself and, you know, take care of yourself. It's that you're going to lose to other people who care more about the thing. So it's even worse than you think. If you don't follow your passion, not only are you giving energy to something that isn't going to take care of you, but there are other people who are going to get much more from it, and you're going to just be left with whatever is left over.
And I was going to say, and if you're at a job, somebody else might want the job you have currently. But I had a question too, because I feel like where I'm at now, like 5 years ago, like I was not enough of an experienced director to do, because like I can make a living now because I can travel around and do different tournaments and I get hired around the country. And then I'm also confident enough to do these really big tournaments where I can have like 500 people and be like, all right, you know, we can get this. But like 5 years ago, like I didn't have enough experience, enough confidence. So like, what would you say about like when is the right time? You know, because like throughout the last, you know, when I was a teacher for 15 years, you know, I was like slowly building up my skills and getting to where I am now. But
So you 5 years ago, you couldn't do what you're doing now.
Yeah,
like,
I would say I would not do, I feel, as good of a job, and also would not have been hired. You know, like I wasn't doing nationals 5 years ago.
I'm not even saying that for debate. I'm saying that as a fact. Like literally, wherever you are, wherever you are right now, you could not be doing 5. And if the answer to that is no, I could be doing this, then something's wrong. We're not growing. We got to move towards growth. Can you press the red button for me, please? That doesn't mean that you couldn't do other things related to chess, though. Like it's like the same thing with like teaching. Press it again. There you go. Thank you, sir. The same thing with teaching. Like, you don't need to know the whole textbook to teach the textbook. You just need to be a page ahead of the students, because you also need to think about who's helping. Because some people, when I'm looking for help, I'm not looking for someone that's, you know, 10 years ahead of me. I want someone who's in the same thing I'm in to get that experience. Because there's value in it. There's value in a beginner's perspective. And the expert doesn't. There's things a beginner can tell you who's just a little bit farther ahead of you than an expert can't, because the expert forgets.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like in chess for sure. Like you know, you forget how beginner players think.
It's the burden of knowledge. Like how can you forget what people don't know? You know? So it's there's things that a first year tournament director can tell you that someone who's been tournament directing for 20 years can't tell you, because so it's tapping into whatever stage you're in. You have assets that are helpful to people. You just have to understand what those are.
You know, I think we talk about it a lot with like poets too, when it comes to like poets that are like afraid to like do open mics. It's like you think that in order to get on the open mic, you have to have this incredibly polished poem that's perfect, and like that performance is like is the display metric for your poetry out in the world. But like what I would probably say, and I'm sure Jeff would agree, is like like the open mic is like maybe how you test if the poem is even a poem right now. Like you a lot of times you don't even know what you have, and like I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but I'm saying that like the open mic should not be like the sole metric that you're like the only way this poem lives is if it's on an open mic. And if that's the case, then like maybe like you're testing it in front of the audience that way. And I think about just like in your example with like somebody going to be replaced by somebody that's passionate, it's like. And I think like sports is always like a really cool like way to like look at it. And there's actually something funny. I think I don't think it's on camera, but I is it Rupa? So she was speaking with somebody, like one of the parents, and like I think one of the parents was talking like, yeah, like they're getting their daughter in, and you know, like the daughter like was playing like a sport, and I was like either this or sports, and she was like, chess is a sport. And I thought about it, and I was just like, okay, listen, I think in a way that like like I never really thought about it, but I'm like because Kobe talked about chess a lot, like there's it's not a documentary. It's like one of those like ESPN kind of like, you know, just talking about the game. And one of the people that they talked to like for it was like year 8 Kobe or something like that. And he was like, he started playing chess like, you know, like a lot earlier and stuff like that. But he was just like, yeah, like chess will teach you how to defend like in your mind. And so like he's really thinking about playing players on the court. Like, you know, he's like he's not just playing this person's body and skill set. He's playing this person's mentality and how they are maneuvering and how they are talking to their teammates. He was like, I could leverage how somebody is communicating with their big man on their court. Like, you know, they're not feeding you enough. Like it's just like small things that will create like kind of breaks. And then also just Kobe being like great. So there's like that. But he's also like the only reason why Kobe is great is because he was in the top 0.000 percentile passionate about the game.
He was 0% passionate.
No, but he's like his level of dedication to the game. Like everybody that ever like watched Kobe or did a documentary on Kobe was just like he was by far the hardest worker on this game that we've ever seen. Like more than like Jordan was like physically gifted. And he was really dedicated, but not to the degree that like Kobe Bryant is. And I'm like, you're going like if you're in a field and you and somebody like Kobe starts at the same time, if you're like, I'm just doing this so I can get by, the Kobe guy that's in your circle is going to beat you every time. And he's not only going to beat you every time, but it's going to be like a disproportionate growth. You know what I mean? Like, in 1 year, you might be neck and neck. In 2 years, he might be out of here because he's the one who's willing to spend nights working on video packages or like, you know, working on how to edit and things like
learning
that.
New skills.
So
I think one word you used early on in that is the word metric. And I think a lot of us are setting, if we're not doing these things, if we're not creating the businesses, but we have dreams of or aspirations of it, I think a lot of times the problem is the metric we've created. We're creating a metric for success that automatically disqualifies us by choice. It's like no one set the metric. Like if we set it ourselves, we're like a poet has to do this. I'm not doing this, so I can't achieve. Well, it's like, well, can we like change the bar? You don't have to look at someone who's like 10 years further ahead. Let's change how we determine success. Like with the open mic stuff, like instead of being like, this is a successful poem if, you know, all the room applauds and asks me for an encore and invites me to a feature immediately. Like that's one metric of success, sure. Maybe the metric of success is just I'm going to read the poem from start to finish and sit down. And that's much easier to attain, you know? So like you determine success. No one else determines that for you.
And that reminds me of the one podcast you're listening to about failure. And, you know, there was like a magician who, when the first time he went out and was doing magic, he got disheartened because, you know, he'd be like, you want to see a magic trick? And people would be like, no. And he's like, oh, you don't want to see a magic trick? But then when he reframed that and said, okay, I'm going to keep doing my like tricks until 5 people turn me down. Like in a row. Yeah, in a row, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, kind of helped
go
him,
home.
how to get over, you know, that like mental block. And yeah, changed what like success would mean. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And those, I feel like those metrics of success have already had like such a deep historical following that just what you're talking about, like when people are like, they're fighting against you, like they're fighting against you creating your own, like they're like, that's not what success is supposed to look like because of what I did to get to success. Like I needed to get this published and I needed to have like this book out and through this publisher and through this publication window, and they had to sell this many books, you know, or I had to get like kind of this kind of viewership on a video. Like they are fighting against you being able to determine like, okay, what success looks like for me. Because and also I think subconsciously a lot of people know that like there is a future over there. Like there is like a really large kind of following and like really large like monetary potential for success, like even outside of like the purpose that you are like driving towards. Because
It's
like,
very risky.
It is risky.
And
But
if I miss it, it's my fault.
Yeah,
Whereas
right.
like if I stay in the current system and I fail, that's the system's fault.
Yeah.
But if I go out there on my own and fail, that's my fault.
Yeah, that's the tough. People would much rather be unsuccessful, but it not be their fault, than be successful. Like than to be unsuccessful and it's like I can only blame myself. Yeah. But I'm like, the people that like take that leap are like, there's something there.
I think indirectly we've been talking about advantages. We talked a little bit about control. We talked a little bit about understanding kind of metrics of success and determining how to create them for ourselves in a way that empowers us instead of discourages. Are there other advantages that you guys wanted to bring up just in terms of creating your own business around your passion?
I think, I mean, for me, every day, and I just started doing this, but like every day, I'm like, man, I love my job. You know, it's like that, because I think part of it is not only do you have some control over your schedule and what you have to do. Like last year, I couldn't do a bunch of site visits or visit with the teachers.
You couldn't even be here for this podcast.
Yeah, or for see students. So it's like part of that, but also just seeing, like it. I guess doing the visits gives me the confidence that I made the right choice. You know, to see these kids that are just super passionate about chess, or that these teachers who are so thankful for all the opportunities that their kids can go and play, or for the coaches to come in, or talking to the coaches and like how much joy they're having, you know, teaching these kids like their favorite opening. So just actually like seeing, you know, what our program is doing and believing in it. And so I think that is like helps propel me to want to try to do new things or to try to fundraise more, because I like firmly believe that what we're doing is, you know, promoting chess and helping kids.
Which I think speaks to just human psychology. Like when you do something, you start looking for cues that the thing you're doing is working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like the mind is wired for that. So no matter what you do, you're going to find the signals that confirm the choice. Mm-hmm. Because it's painful to find things that don't confirm it, right? So it's like you move in the direction, you're going to find things that feel like they align. And then you feel boosted, and then you work hard, and then you find more. It creates a feedback loop, you know?
Yeah. I also think about, like, you're kind of curating your life in a way that, like, you know, that way you can like, just like with Kathy, what you're saying, you can be doing what you love, as opposed to, you know, you're clocking in and you're like, well, the thing that I curated is like this job that somebody else is like benefiting mostly from. And so, you know, I was like, I really want to make films. Like, even when I didn't have like the camera equipment to necessarily make films, we were like making little short films with like just cell phones. And I was just like, if I can find a way to do what I love and like for it to be profitable and then for it to be impactful, then I'm like, that's what I want to wake up doing, even if it's incredibly long days or anything like that. Like, that's like what I really enjoy doing. And I think that if you can figure out a way to do that, then it's like, one of the things that I was actually talking to Scott about this not long ago. I was like, I didn't really realize like how it's not like a dig at anybody that has like a 9 to 5, because this is not like people need those things, right? But I didn't really realize like the difference between the amount of effort and time that I was putting into my current work. Then like I'm like I was like, again, I was literally like, after I got off of work, it's not even just time. It's like the person that I am when I'm done working is not the same person that I am when I wake up in the morning. And it's way further from the person that I am when I wake up in the morning to do like videography and filmmaking as opposed to like insurance, right? So it's like, whatever that difference is, it's like, you don't even realize, like, I'm not even giving, like, if you have 24 hours in a day and you spend 8 hours doing the job, maybe one of those hours is like lunch, so you have like 9 hours in total in the orbit of your job. If you think that you're even giving like a 10% to your passion, like, it's probably not even that. It's probably way less than that, because you're tired, you're frustrated, you got all this other stuff weighing on you. So it's just like the ability to be able to engage the thing that I love with like a clear mind and like energy palette. And I'm like, oh, all of the and I didn't even realize like all of the creative juices that I'm like able to really deploy now are because I'm like, I didn't even have like the wherewithal to kind of do it when I'm like working this 9 to 5. So like, this advantage of being able to be like, oh, not only is it something that I love to do, but like it is the thing that I do, as opposed to the thing that I get to do after I got to do all this other stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm working harder than I've ever worked, you know?
Oh my God.
But it doesn't feel like that.
It doesn't feel like it.
It's
you
like you
love
work
it.
a traditional job and it takes energy, but this is the type of what you're working harder, but it energizes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No, there's literally been, me and Ajane, because we're like putting our schedules and stuff together, and I was like thinking about the sheer amount of like hours and like mental space that this stuff takes up, and I'm just like, I'm absolutely working harder than I've ever worked before, and definitely longer, like more hours. But it was like, oh, but when I'm done with the project, like it's like mine, like it is a thing that I did that I could see out in the world, and it can also do things for you, like, you know, if I like help with somebody's insurance claim, like that, I'm done with that, and that is it. And it's also not something that I'm passionate about. Not that I want people to get in car accidents, but like I'm not like super passionate about the end of that. But like if we make a film, it's like now I get to see like what that film does, or where that film lands in the world, and who gets to be impacted by that. And it's all from work that like we're doing. And like, again, I think really doing the event this weekend really opened my eyes, because I'm like watching all of these kids that are like it's so weird, because I'm like, every once in a while, I'm just like, Kathy is like really in the chess space. Like, it's actually like really nuts. Like, Kathy's like really out there, like doing chess, like for real. And I'm like walking around this space, and like people. Okay, we said this like pre-podcast, but I'm gonna say it on the podcast because it's really, really important. Like, I'm just walking around with the camera. Okay, walking around with the camera, and like people, like, so and it's also funny. It's like, okay. You know, like Darth Vader, like walking through all the clones, and like all like they all like stand to, and they're like absolute, like as he's like going through, like that's literally Kathy like walking through, like Kathy's walking through, and then everybody's like, oh, that's Kathy. Oh, she's like, people were literally whispering to each other, like, oh, she's good. This is one of the best events, that I've been to. We go to all these different like I think it was like the second to last interview that I did. One of the, like, it was like this couple, and like one of the parents was like, we take our kid to this event and this event and this event, but this event, the best ran event, like these ones are the best. And it's like so cool, because it's like legitimately the kind of person that it would take to have that kind of like word of mouth. Is like not somebody who's just like, oh, I gotta do this chess event, like, you know, it's like, but if you can get somebody who's like really passionate and is like really locked in, and not only really locked in, but like they're like, this is the thing that I wanted to be doing anyway. Like, I get to be doing it for money, you know what I mean? Well, not for money, but like, but I get to like, there is like, it's not just, we're just joking around here. Like, this is like serious, like there's an infrastructure built around it. And like, because of that, like you get something that's growing, and you get something that like, again, these kids are like, the kids talking about chess is actually, it's like kids talking about like baseball, like almost. It's like if you I don't know, like I have like a nephew that's like really really passionate about baseball, and like it's like he wakes up in the morning and like he'll wake up in the morning at 5:30 in the morning, and if he's with us, he'll be like, want to play baseball. I just want to like do that thing, or like if you're like around him, like he wants to talk about it or whatever like that, and you know it's like that kind of like the eyes are open, they're like soaking in this experience, and I'm just like, you can't even create something like this if you're not, somebody is not like that dialed in and that passionate about it. So yeah, I
want to say too, because like there were a lot of hiccups at this tournament, and so that's like really nice to hear, but I think like it was also, I think when you're super passionate, like even if you don't have, like you didn't meet your expectations, it's like, it's not like, I feel like if you weren't passionate, it'd be like, oh, like I'm never doing this again, or like I don't, you know, it's not worth it. But like, you know, for me it's like, okay, well, like I learned, you know, what not to do or how I would change things, and then like trying to do better next time. And I think that like having that passion kind of helps you be motivated to have that perspective and to keep growing from there.
It also mitigates hiccups too, like the kind of things that can go wrong when you're like not really dialed in, and like this is not something like, and it's also like the reason why you know there are hiccups is because you have a keen eye and you're like, okay, I can see where things are going left or going, like I can figure out how to correct maybe some of the larger things, and then maybe some things still go wrong because like things do go, like no matter what kind of enterprise you're doing, like things are going to go wrong, but it's like because you're dialed in, it's like you can diagnose those, and in your after action you can be like, this is how we're going to like shift like gears in the future. So it's like regardless, you know, the fact that you're so passionate about it is like change is going to make the next thing and the next thing and the next thing better.
And I think it also makes it very intrinsically motivated because you see these things, you see the problems. I can attest that Kathy was not happy.
It's all rated, it's all good. We're in happy ways. Listen to him.
But it's like compare that to like a performance review at work where it's like,
oh yeah,
you know, like suddenly there's other people talking to you about your job performance and stuff like that, and it's like suddenly it's like, well, I thought I was doing this, and then they're coming to me potentially being like, oh no, like we're really unsatisfied with like these components. Or like they'll have you self-assess, and then you're like, okay, did they assess you? Like it's so much uncertainty about the whole process.
It's something you didn't even want to do it anyway.
But you've been made to, like when you're hired by, what does a company want to do? Like when you get hired by a company, they want to keep you there because it's cheaper to keep you there than train someone else to come in. But at the same time, they need you to feel dependent on them, even though the reality is the opposite. They need you more than you need them, but they try to kind of trick you the other way around, you know, with these like performance reviews to make it seem like my opinion of you is really important, or I'll pay you more, you know, or I'll give you these benefits and stuff like that, you know.
One of the things we talked about a lot, and I think it just like connected those dots for me, is like, you know, all the time people, they'll have like once they know you're a filmmaker, and they'll like look up with some of the stuff that you do, and then they'll be like, I have a movie in my head, and I'm like, I don't have like the eye and the equipment and all the other stuff to get it done, but this guy does. But I also don't have like a budget, or I don't have like a team or anything like that. But if like this guy can do everything, I just have to sell him on like, this is your dream. It's like we'll get it all the time where it's like people are like, yeah, this is like my film idea, and this is that and the third, and like it can be like a partnership. And you get it all the time. And I'm like, it's kind of the same exact thing that happens on a 9-to-5. It's like, they try to sell you on like, not just like, you're not just doing this for money. You're also doing this because like how great this company is and how great this potential. Like I remember I used to have this sales job, and okay, the business is out of business now, so it actually doesn't matter. but I outlasted that. I outlasted them. But they sold like peel and stick mailing labels. Like it was like literally like address labels. So it's essentially like they're selling information to like business owners. But I'm like, mind you, like there are 1,000 other ways for them to get this information. Like, and email exists and all this other stuff. So it's like the thing that we're doing is actually, especially at the, maybe in the 90s it was like relevant, maybe the late 80s, but like in 2000 anything, it was irrelevant, right? And we would regularly have these like sales meetings. We would watch Boiler Room. Yeah. And then, but they would just like hype you up like, this is such a great company and you believe in it, right? Like you like, and they're trying to get you to buy in so that they can take advantage of you on the other side. They're like, well, if you're bought into this process, you really believe like this is a hub of greatness and things are going to blow up right around the corner, then like you just want to be here. So whatever we're doing as far as your compensation, as far as your how many hours a day that you're working, your working conditions, like it means less if you can get on track with that. So if they're selling you on somebody else's dream, on somebody else's like excitement about it, and I'm like, but this isn't really my excitement. Like this is just, I'm just doing this for a job. But like what we're doing is something that we're actually like, we are the ones who are excited about it.
You know, they'll try to sell you on titles. Like we'll call you VP, we'll call you, you know, COO or whatever it is, chief, vice, whatever it is. They'll pay you lots more, and then, but the thing is, like the higher up you go, the more they get you, because it's like, we're paying you this much money, so we're justified in flying you around the country so you only see your family like once a week every month, you know? And you buy in and you accept it. But I think when you break free and start your own thing, you start seeing what those tools are that they use to try to get you. And it's like, maybe I didn't actually care about the title. Maybe I didn't actually care about the salary, you know? It's, you start understanding what really motivates you.
Yeah, that's true.
Any final thoughts? Things we
Jeff had been trying to convince me to do this for years.
Oh my gosh.
So
Finally got
I'm glad. I'm
At
really
least like 5
thankful
years.
that for your support, because I think if I was with someone who, like was, questioning, are you sure? Like, how are we gonna make it work? And you from the start years ago have been, encouraging me to do this. So thank you for that.
It's true.
Yeah. That's
Pushing
so,
him
that's
too.
so nice.
Yeah. Of course, you had to get like laid off first to do it.
Well, and then we did. But okay, so something that's really cool, and I also think is like really exciting about like working with Jeff is that I think that like there's been very few people like you. Typically, when I'm seeing like the people's like vision kind of unfold, it's like because I'm not like close friends with that person. It's like the thing that I'm seeing is probably the stanza starting, right? The thing that you probably see is like the brick and mortar. Like I might see that online, but like what you don't see is like for years, like this everything that's happening right now is not a shock. You know what I mean? It's like cool, but it's like this is like the thing that Jeff has been saying. Like, oh, if I keep doing this, then eventually this will happen, and then I'm planning on this to happen, and I really want this to happen. So I'm gonna do these 3 things that are gonna hopefully be like they're gonna like line up, and they will. Yeah. And even right now, like this isn't like to use another Pokemon reference, the final evolution. No,
this is like the end goal from 5 years ago. I'm already 10 years ahead. You know?
But it's so like, I think it's cool because I think as creatives, we get really locked into like the moment. And so whatever's happening right now, whatever opportunity we have right now, it's the only thing on our minds. It's the only thing on our like, that we're celebrating, that we're thinking about, that we're talking about. Like, so much of the stuff that's happening right now is just like Jeff is like, yeah, but in 2 years, that is the thing that you really want to be thinking about. And it's like you can see Jeff. It's like Jeff is like the first prophet. Like that's like, I'm trying to tell you, if you guys just do this, like there's great things on the way. And like everybody, like even me, like not, I won't say I never doubted Jeff, but I doubted myself. I was just like, like I see what you mean, man, but I just don't know. But it was like, once I'm in a position to be like, okay, like it's either like this route or like I had an opportunity to be like, okay, I could just be right back in the insurance field like this week. Like right now, I could technically be like, I can just take an insurance job. Yeah. But like, it's also like, once I've like tasted like, okay, like I got paid off of a project that I conceivably would have done for free. You know what I mean? Like I would have put every bit of that kind of work in there, and like I would have done it for free. But like but not only did I get paid to do it, but then I'm like, that served as a resume for like 5 other things that I would like in the future get. And I'm like, oh, like once you're your own boss and you're like kind of tackling these things, I'm just like, I can't right now imagine being like,
you can't go back.
Tomorrow I wake up at 7:30 to be at work at 8:45 to like listen to somebody that I do not like tell me to do a job that I do not like, and then review my performance on this thing. I'm like, none of these things fit. And it's like I also can't imagine doing work that I could see zero benefit and impact from the outcome of that work. And I'm like, it's like, that's like a wave that Jeff has been on for a very, very, very long time. And it's also like, if there's very little people that would be like, in 5 years, they're still going to be like, this is the thing that it's going to be whatever's next in 5, it's going to be whatever like the 5 years version of this is, which is different. Right. But I'm like, I know that Jeff is like dedicated to this path. And so like whatever the thing happens next. So it's a really cool thing, because a lot of artists, I think Jeff is teaching artists how to do that. Like you see, there's a lot of people that just like will be in like other spaces and they'll be like, oh yeah, like like Jeff in Diverses, like I just did like that conference, and I did like one of like Jeff's events, and I learned how to like kind of put this thing together from watching this like YouTube video. And I'm like, everything that Jeff is doing is like kind of like the thing that we're doing right now is like growing that and is like pushing that further.
This is the smallest we'll ever be.
Yeah. Unless they invent shrink rays.
They're probably already invented. They just haven't released them.
Dang.
I already used the shrink ray on this. This is the smallest.
You guys didn't know. I was there.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. It's been another edition of Arts and Offers. Thanks to our guest, Kathy, for joining us. So good to have you. Stay tuned for the next episode of Arts and Offers next week. Once again, my name is Jeff.
I'm Matthias.
I'm Kathy.
Oh, you fit right in.
Yeah, look at us.
We'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Have a good night. Good afternoon.